Crescent Moon Phase, Finding Our Way Through the Dark by Demetra George. The crescent moon phase, the moon is 45 to 90 degrees ahead of the sun. The keywords are overcome, focus, move forward. The crescent phase begins about 3.5 days after the new moon conjunction. At the distance of 45 degrees apart, the sun and the moon are now in an angular relationship that carries a maximum intensity of forces and corresponds to the stressful aspect of the semi-square. For those who are born under this waxing crescent moon, the keynote of their lifetime is to struggle against the forces of inertia. In the plant cycle, the crescent phase corresponds to the newly sprouted seedling, struggling against the force of gravity to push its first tender shoots up through the thick, dark soil. Likewise, for the evolving soul, the urge to mobilize means that the crescent people must take charge of their new bodies, focus their energy, and relate to their dense physical environment. During this phase of the cyclical process, there's a dynamic tension between the forces of the past and those of the future. As crescent moon people begin to focus their vision and attempt to move forward in actualizing their new possibility, of all the past patterns of resistance, inertia, and fear arise and refuse to budge. The backward pull of the past is embodied with the guise of the crystallized habits, which were carried over from the previous cycle of the incarnations, and now reside in the unconscious psyche as the karmic residue of the soul. The crescent phase individuals must feel surrounded and overwhelmed by the quote-unquote ghosts of the past, unquote. Their dependencies, their unconscious patterns, their habits, their addictions, their insecurities, and fears of the unknown. Their challenge is to break with these values, break with these attitudes or traditions of the culture or family of origin to develop a new social and economic identity for themselves. They are instinctively realize that their very survival depends on the ability to do this. Yet they fear that they must be unable to do so. The outcome will be one of having to resign themselves to leading the lives of quiet desperation, knowing their potential will never be realized. Imagine the situation of a person in their mid-30s still living with their parents in a room in which they grew up. And if you empathize with the fear that stands between many crescent phase individuals, they cannot pull away from the past conditions which seem to grip them. The resistance of moving forward in their growth is the essence of the resistance crescents need to overcome this lifetime. However, this is often a painful and difficult process because their feelings of the crescent people are so highly sensitized. Because they are susceptible to the emotional needs of loved ones, they are vulnerable to being emotionally manipulated and guilt-tripped by others. Also, the fledgling bodies are most secure in a known environment for safety, familiarity, and comfort. It is this need for closeness and security that makes them so enmeshed in the past, whether it is the past of past lives or their childhood or just of last week. Because the crescent life purpose is to impress the goal of some new intention into the psychological and emotional bodies, it calls for them to continually repolarize the old habits, old relationships, or situations carried over from any previous experience which do not support the expression of the goal and have no purpose or value of the future. As crescent people gradually overcome the resistance of old fears and insecurities, they begin to get excited with the sense of the new powers. However, they may experience a shock as they imagine subjective possibilities clash with the realities of the outer world. They may become quite frustrated when their initial disillusionment contributes to the sense of vision will never work out. They can never do it, or it's more trouble than it's worth. On the other hand, crescent people can use this as reality check and take the form of the obstacle and setbacks to test their growing strength and to nurture their increasing sense of capability. The flow of the solar and lunar energy moves them into overcoming this inertia and push past them to gather the resources and mobilize their energy towards actualizing the fledgling identities, the visions, and their potentialities. As Crescent literally means growing one, the momentum of the cycle is increasing, and there is individuals that feel the urge to move in the direction of the fulfilling the goal and may still only be inwardly felt or subjectively understood. In order to do so, Crescent people need to make contact with physicality of the environment and to discover the resources available to them. By developing their talents and skills and learning to express these new abilities in a tangible form, the Crescent types can build self-confidence in their ability to move forward. These people become strengthened by the successfully overcome obstacles and develop the quality of self-reliance, faith in themselves, persistence, and determination. As the Crescent moon types become more rooted in their identity, their final challenge is to see and take advantage of the many, many opportunities in their environment that will open up for them once they can further their goal.